Oh, hey, Travels with Dottie here with the wide-angle Dottie cam. Pretty excited about that. Went really well on the last video because we got me and we got Dottie in the picture, and we're headed to Red River because we got to get some Dottie ingredients for her meals. Got to get some hamburger and some vegetables. And my choices are I could go to Angel Fire or Red River. Red River is a little further, but it's a little bit different. I've gone to Angel Fire several times this past week, so I just want to go somewhere else. And I'm going to talk about quartzsite today. And I'm going to call the video What I Love About Quartzsite, or maybe Why I Love Quartzsite. So my first adventure in quartzsite was prior to my retirement. It was in 2020. I was living in Northern Virginia, and I was planning on retiring in a couple of years, and I was following Bob Wells and Deborah Dickinson and Nomadic Fanatic and Campervan Kevin and Long Long Honeymoon, and I was intrigued by also Hobotech and Sasnak. That's important because they were having a camp in Quartzsite that year, and they said, come out and camp with us. Not to me in particular, but people on their channel, come out and camp with us in Quartzsite. We're going to be in Skadden Wash. None of which really meant anything to me. But I decided I was going to try this living full time on the road thing, and I was living in a trailer. I had owned a trailer I just used for camping, and I decided, well, my first test is going to be I'm going to move out of I was in this like luxury high-rise apartment. It was very expensive, and I decided to move out of there, take my trailer out of storage, and I went looking for like an RV park or something in Fairfax County, Virginia, and there was not much. I ended up, I got lucky, and I found there was a mobile home park that had a select number of RV spots, and I snagged one of those. So I was living there in an RV, and that I passed that part of the test in terms of, am I going to be comfortable living in a RV full time or a travel trailer? And the answer was yes, absolutely. I'd done it for over a year. And so they decided, well, I'm going to take a trip, and I'm going to go out to Quartzsite and I wanted to go to the RTR. And I wanted to meet Bob Wells, and I wanted to camp out there with Sasnak and Hobotech. So I took a 3-week vacation. I had to get special permission to take 3 weeks off. And I drove from Northern Virginia to Quartzsite, Arizona. And I remember vividly arriving in Quartzsite and driving my trailer through the middle of town. It was very busy. It was in January, like the first week of January. And my first thought was, oh my, what have I gotten myself involved in? It was very intimidating. And I had to find a place to pull over and figure out, how to get to Skadden Wash. And I finally figured that out and got in the right direction. And it was a really super rough, bumpy road, but I finally made it out there. And that sort of nervousness that I felt driving through town in my trailer became a distant memory. And I found their camp, and a guy pointed out a few suggestions for where I could park, and I sort of expected to be right with them, but wasn't really the arrangement. They had people that they knew very well that were right near them, and everyone else was sort of on the outskirts, so I was regulated to the outskirts, and I found a place to park, and I parked. I had prepared. One of the things I'd done to prepare to boondock was I had bought I replaced my lead acid battery with one Battleborn battery, and I think I had an inverter. I'm pretty sure I had an inverter. I can't really remember. Anyway, I stayed parked, I believe, in my spot in the desert there for 10 days. And they had campfires every night. And I'm struggling a little. I'm having a little memory issue here, but I believe that year was the first year the RTR, the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, was not on BLM land because it got too big. So they were told, you can't do this again. It's too big. So they went to, I think, the La Paz County Fairgrounds, which is up near Parker. So it was like a 30-minute drive at least, but from the middle of Quartzsite to get to the RTR, and from where I was staying, more like 45 minutes because it was slow going getting out of there, maybe an hour. So I went to the RTR. I met Bob Wells and got my picture taken with him and everything. And here's a really amazing memory that was never repeated in all the years since then. But my first night, my first night, parked in Skadden-Wash in the desert. I walked out, it was just about sunset, and I heard the sound of a cello. And I looked out over the desert, and not far away, in the sunset, was a woman sitting on a chair by herself playing the cello. I don't know who she was. I don't know where she came from. I never saw anything like that again in the desert since then. But it was a totally magical moment. And she played beautifully. And I sat there and listened and watched her play the cello into the sunset. And I went to my first campfire there with Hobotech and Sasnak and all the people camping with them. And wonderful people. And I just, like, everyone I met was so open and friendly and kind and in a good mood. And that became the predominant theme from then on, is running into people that were positive and a good mood. I mean, people in Quartzsite in January, they're on vacation. They're mostly in a good mood. And if you've been there, you'll go, well, Rob, not everybody's in a good mood there. There's some grumpy people. There are. But for the most part, unlike, where I was living in Northern Virginia, it was a much more friendly, kind atmosphere. And after being in the desert for 10 days, I said, this is for me. This is what I want. And I could see myself spending a lot of time out here, and I would say it's fair to say that I fell in love with the desert. And the climate, the light, the whole sense of being there. So this is it for me. Now that I was only there for a little while, I did get to see the big tent. And after that, I left and drove back across the country. I gotta tell you, I was not a fan of the travel. I'm a fan of the stopping, the camping, but the driving my trailer from point to point it's not miserable, but it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite thing to do. I went through over the next year. I knew I was gonna. I made the decision then and there. Okay, I'm gonna retire early. I'm shooting for 62, and with my county pension and Social Security, I had dialed it in where I was gonna retire December 1st of the next year. Oddly enough, when I was there in January 2020, that was the beginning of the pandemic. That was happening. And things got very strange very fast when I got back in Virginia into February and March. So that next year went pretty quickly. I was working in an emergency mental health clinic, so there was no remote work. That was not happening. There was no shutdown for us. In a lot of ways, it became more important for us to be available in that emergency mental health clinic. That was an interesting time. So I started my process of planning to retire, live full time. I had decided, on the advice of Bob Wells and Deborah Dickinson through their videos, to establish residency in Pahrump, Nevada. And my plan when I retired was to go straight to Pahrump, spend my 30 days there establishing residency, registering my vehicles, and then I was going to head to Quartzsite. And this was a really great thing that I did for me. My first full winter in Quartzsite was there was one of the channels that I was listening to very intently for that next year was Next Exit, Bob and Pearl. And one of the draws I had to that was Bob that year was doing a very detailed, intensive budget spreadsheet. He would update every month, and he would talk in detail about his expenses. So I was modeling my expense forecasting after what he was doing. So I wanted to really make sure that I can quit my job and retire and live on the income that I was going to be getting. One of the caveats was I did have that small pension from the government. I had another pension from the years I worked 7 years for Neiman Marcus. So I had two pensions coming my way, small ones, but together they were okay, but I wasn't eligible to receive either one of them until I turned 65. So all I was going to have was my 62 Social Security, and one of the things that happened with the pandemic was suddenly doing online televideo counseling sessions became the norm, where I was certainly capable of doing that, but none of my clients wanted to do it. They all wanted in person, and I had an office, which I actually still have in Virginia, the office share that I still participate in. So that became a reality. It's like, hey, I can earn a little, up to the $20,000 or so that Social Security allows. And when I'm 65, the pensions don't count towards Social Security, so that I'm okay there. Just earned income. The counseling, I got to keep it 20,000 under. It's like, well, that's fortunate, because whoa, we have a little. It's a kind of a bumpy road. I'm sorry. I hope you can still see Dottie. There she is. That wide-angle lens is magnetized, and I've discovered if you're on a bumpy road, that magnet's not real great. And this is kind of a windy mountain pass road. We're going to hit at the peak here over 9,000 feet in elevation before we get to Red River. So anyway, all that was going to work out. I could still, I was licensed in Virginia. It didn't matter where I was physically, just my clients had to be physically in Virginia, and I could make that happen, and I could easily keep that under 20,000, because I didn't want to work full time. I just wanted to work like a day a week, and that's kind of essentially what happened. I end up now, I work about 1 day a week, and usually not even the whole day. And if you add that, $20,000 to my Social Security income, according to all my projections, that was going to work. So I was saying that the real smart thing I did was I was watching Bob and Pearl, and they were like, we have a rally every year, and the rally is for people that are either retired or planning to retire. And you had to kind of apply to it, and give them information, a biography, and pictures of your rig and pictures of yourself. So I applied to it. Said, yeah, and the timing was good, because I was gonna head out to Pahrump the beginning of December, be there for a month, and right about that time, that was when their rally was starting. So I went to their rally and got to be part of that, and that introduced me to a bunch of people, including Bob and Pearl, that I still have contact with, and there are people there like Tim, who you've seen if you've been following me, that I camp with, and Jim, my Canadian friend, I met him there. Deb and Denny, I met them there, and many others. They introduced me to that full-timer retirement community, and it was full of people that knew what they were doing with like solar and all kinds of things that I was taught during that rally that really was pretty exciting. So it was in La Posa South, and it's actually, if you look at where I've been camping the past 2 years, I haven't moved from the rally spot. They stopped having the rallies. That was the last year they had the rally. But I kept going back to that same spot, and so did Tim and other people. And after the rally was over, I stayed, and Tim stayed, and we became good friends, and we remain very good friends. and we camp together, and he'll be there, I'll be there this November in the very same spot, the rally. So that's how I immersed myself in the culture of Quartzsite, by attending what they call a rally or a gathering. And there are many of those that you can find, and Facebook is a great place to look for that. They have rallies for certain kinds of rigs. There's all kinds of opportunities like that you can find if you want to sort of start your journey the way I did. And you have an immediate, comfortable community that you're a part of automatically. You don't have to go blindly hunting around for people you don't know to camp with. I think it's a great idea. And I would say to those of you that are savvy and already know about Quartzsite, and you're watching this video anyway, and you know about rallies and opportunities there, put them in the comments. Give some people some direction and some links to things they can check out so they can start like I did. So one of the things I did during the rally is I decided, well, now's the time to really do my solar system right. And I got a second battery and I think a little bit bigger charge controller. I just really built up my system, and people there at the rally that knew what they were doing helped me do it and showed me how to do it. And I ended up being very comfortable boondocking in the desert there, because I had adequate solar, I had adequate heating, and I was comfortable. And I've said in other videos, and we're getting into Red River now. I said in other videos that one of the things that people generally don't miss the idea they need electricity. That isn't something that people miss. The thing that people miss is this. It gets cold in Quartzsite in the winter at night when you're trying to sleep. And if you don't have adequate warmth when you're sleeping, your experience can become very miserable very quickly. And there are a number of ways to achieve that warmth. The cheapest way, hey, you get a 30 degree or below or a 0 degree sleeping bag, you're probably set for not much money. A mistake that people make is that, okay, they think they have enough electricity and I'm just going to run my propane onboard furnace. And it's often, if you have like one battery, that can be a big mistake. Why? Because yes, it's a propane furnace, but the hot air is blown with a fan that, hang on, that wasn't clicked in there. Not good. With a fan that uses anywhere from 6 to 8 amps of power to blow that hot air, even though it's propane combustion that's creating the heat. That heat's distributed by that fan, and you could wake up at 4 in the morning with no heat because you've run out of battery, because it's a really cold night. It can get down to almost freezing and sometimes below freezing in the winter, and that would mean maybe that fan's going all night. So unless you have a pretty robust battery bank, there are other propane alternatives that are safe, that provided you have adequate ventilation, that do not rely on any electricity. One is a propane powered heater that I'll put up here that I used for quite some time, that is a technology that is not really an open flame. It's a fabric that sort of ignites and burns slowly and puts off a lot of heat and is very, very efficient with the propane. It's designed for RVs and it's designed to be used inside. They're fairly expensive is one drawback. The other drawback is they don't really come with thermostats. So when I had a just a low, medium, and high setting, and often I would wake up at 3 in the morning and it would be 85 degrees and I'd have to shut it down. And then, it might, a few hours later, it might be cold again and I have to fire it up. This other one I'll pull up here, heater, is a little bit different technology, still designed for indoor use with proper ventilation. And it does have a rudimentary thermostat on it, and this is the one that's worked for me. And they have a website, and also these are sold at RV Lifestyles in Quartzsite. Anyway, I'm going to take a little break here because I got to the grocery store. I'm going to go in and get the groceries, and I'll head back and I'll continue to talk to you about Quartzsite. All right, I finished my shopping. I went to get like 2 pounds of hamburger meat and frozen vegetables, and I ended up with about 20 items. That's the way it goes. So we're heading back out of Red River. If you want to see Red River, I have other videos where I show you what Red River looks like. It's a action-packed, small ski town in the winter, four-wheeling, horseback riding, young place in the summer. It's there's a lot of younger people here, a lot more energy than Eagle Nest, and I don't stay here for that reason. I would have when I was younger. I probably would have been a Red River guy in my 30s and 40s, but not now. Anyway, so we're back to Quartzsite. I got my Pahrump citizenship, and then I came down to Quartzsite to the rally, the next exit rally, made friends, and most of what I did was there in camp. We were in a big circle, and there are activities every day. And I went to this year they moved, thank goodness, they moved the RTR, the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, back into Town Park. So that was more convenient to do that, and I went to the big tent. And when the rally ended, and Tim stayed, I stayed, a few other people stayed, Jim stayed for a while, and it's just a smaller, tighter-knit group after the rally was over. I started discovering more about what's available in Quartzsite and what's available out in the desert there in La Posa South, and discovered quickly that there are informal kind of activities that happen out in the desert. There are potlucks, and there's a little informal place called the Lit Cactus that Friday nights would have big fires, and people would play music, and there were lots of things like that happening out there. And you just kind of keep your ear to the ground, talk to people, go on Facebook. Tons of Facebook groups on Quartzsite out there, and it keeps you updated on everything. It's like the Lit Cactus has its own Facebook page. So there's always a potluck or a karaoke or something going on. Then in town, it's the same thing. There's karaoke at there was at the yacht club. There was karaoke 1 or 2 nights a week, and you know, I'm gonna have to check this out in editing. I might have in editing. I may have something to say on the screen about this. I heard the yacht club is closing. I heard that rumor, so I'll try to track that rumor down. It'd be too bad because I liked that. It was a nice little night spot, little nightlife, little music. I like karaoke. I think it's a lot of fun. And Outback Pizza, they I think last year every Wednesday night they had a karaoke night. So, and the restaurants are great restaurants. I mean, Outback Pizza has good pizza. The Silly Al's Pizza is almost world famous. You know, if you're there in like January, you're going to be standing in line, waiting for a table, waiting a long time for your meal, but it's worth it. You're on vacation, right? It's you're having a good time. That's the thing about Quartzsite. If you don't like waiting in crowds, don't come to Quartzsite between like December 15th and January 31st. It's going to be really crowded. I mean, really crowded. Lots of traffic. A little bit could get a little frustrating getting served in restaurants. Remember, this is a town of like 2,400 people year round, and they get 1 million plus visitors in the winter. So you can imagine how taxed those local businesses are. And that's where they, you know, that 6 or 8 weeks that's where they get their money for the year. That's it. So anyway, so I'll find out about the yacht club if that's still going to be open. And I hear there's a new dollar store, and it's a bigger version of a dollar store. It's on Main Street. I don't know exactly where, but I'll find out. And enough people have told me about it. It's already opened. They're in a kind of soft opening because they're not fully stocked, but I see it looks like they have a fresh meat section, and maybe a produce section. We'll see. That'll be one of the first places I visit. Any place new, I visit pretty quickly and do a video on it. So you can expect when I get to Quartzsite in November, a video on Quartzsite every day. Every day. Some are going to be interesting and exciting. Some are going to be like this, with me just yapping away about something. But anyway, so I started discovering things that there are to do in Quartzsite. You can run into town and do, like the karaoke and, you know, the nightlife. It's, you know, the yacht club is a sort of a bar restaurant, and there's a dance floor, and it's a lot of fun. And like Silly Al's, there's a bar there too, and they have nightlife. And there's also in Tyson Wells, there's a place called Beer Bellies, and that has live entertainment during the day. And you know, it's not a full bar or anything, but it's kind of a beer place. And but I don't drink beer. I drink soft drinks, so I'll get a soft drink there. And there's a place that sells sandwiches and hot dogs and hamburgers and stuff that's pretty good. And you sit outside and you listen to music and meet new people, and it's a lot of fun. And people dance there too. There's a dance floor. And so that lens, it's a little tough there. You get a bumpy road and it moves. I wonder if there's a solution for that. I'll have to check online. Maybe I need to clean the contacts with alcohol or something, and I would think that should be sticking on there a little bit better. So I'll see, and you'll see on the big screen if that thing moving around is having a big impact on the quality of this picture. There are line dancing classes at and I can't think of the name of the community center. I'll put it up on the screen. Sorry for the over 60 moment, can't remember it. But they have line dancing classes here, and that's a great way to meet people. You think, I don't know how to line dance. Well, that's what classes are for. And it's not strenuous, but it's good exercise. And I think I'm going to try it this year. My friend Jim from Canada is like, dude, you seem obsessed with line dancing. What's that all about? He said, I just really enjoy it. And he was going like, I think twice a week. It could have been 3 times a week. Well, at the end of the season, Jim married the instructor. So this wonderful woman who I got to spend some quality time with Jim, has been doing that line dancing for 20 years, I think, in Quartzsite. And this, so I'm gonna say that this lens is not made for being on bumpy roads in your car. It's just is not designed for that. And I apologize if this, the quality of this video is subpar because of that. But it's, when it works great. Like right now, it's on there nice and solid. And the picture on the monitor looks really good here. You know, I know you only get part of my face, but what do you want to see? My whole face, or you want to see Dottie? And they say, vote in the comments. We want to see Dottie. We know what you look like. We see you all the time. It's Travels with Dottie. We want to see Dottie. So there we go. I mean, it just, you know what I think it probably is? I just realized what the problem is. And I'm going to pull over here, and I think I may be able to solve the problem. And I'm going to do it right in front of you, so it's going to look a little weird. But, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off this lens. All right, I need to turn it off, and I'm going to turn it back on in a minute, and I'll explain what I'm doing. So this was the culprit. This was a screen protector for the gimbal that I bought. And it's a piece of plastic that just sort of lays over the top of that with a little sticky thing on. And when I took it off and then put the lens on there, it just snapped on there really solid. So that's what the problem was. And I'm going to have to give up the screen protector thing in favor of this, because, you know, I think I can just bump all over the place, and that thing's not going to move. It really snapped in there. So that was not the camera's fault. That was my fault for putting an aftermarket screen protector on there. And I bet if I use my other filters, and they'll snap on there too, and not come off. So that's pretty good. And do we get that? I did not want face tracking. No, I did not want face tracking. I want it like that so we can see Dottie dog. Right, Dottie? She's sleeping. She's very relaxed in the car, and often will just go to sleep. So you don't see much activity out of her. So I'm back to the line dancing. That's just, you know, there's so much going on in Quartzsite. Like the activities I mentioned, there are tons of activities that I don't know anything about at all. There's always something to do and something to see in Quartzsite. Not to mention these little day trips that you can take. You know, Parker is less than an hour away. That's where the Walmart is and all sorts of things. But also up there, just beyond Parker, is the place they call the Desert Bar, where you drive out into the desert to a huge, it's called the Desert Bar. It's an indoor-outdoor facility that's all run by solar, and it's a lot of people are up there in four-wheelers. But I did a video you can look for last year driving my pardon me, my two-wheel drive Ford F-150, and it was a breeze. The road is it's a dirt road, it's well maintained, you go slow, but a car, anything can make it up there. You don't need four-wheel drive. So that's an adventure that you can do. And four-wheeling is everywhere in that area in Quartzsite, and there are places where you can rent side-by-sides and ATVs. It's not inexpensive. Why would it be? You know, or better yet, you can become friends with someone that owns one. That's my strategy. It's a lot less expensive. But there's so many interesting mines and little mini ghost towns and little interesting places all over Quartzsite, right? All just everywhere. It's a fascinating area. If you head south towards Yuma, there's a ghost town that, you know, it's commercialized, but a lot of many original structures and artifacts. And yeah, there's a cost to go in there to go through it, and there's a very expensive tour they take you through. I didn't do the tour, I just paid the fee to go in. I did video on that too. That's pretty interesting. Even Phoenix is about an hour and a half drive away, and there's tons of things. If you really, that's a major metropolitan area. If you just have the urge to, you know, get to a big urban center like that for a day, that's an easy shot. Yuma is not as big as Phoenix by any stretch, but there's more than one Walmart, so that gives you the idea of, you know, it's a pretty big place. And when you get to Yuma, you're on the Mexican border, and you can go to this wonderful little border town called Algodones. And many people go down there for dental work because there's so many dentists down there, and there are optometrists. I got these glasses there. Everything's at a discount. There are pharmacies there where you can get your prescription drugs. Not any schedule things. Don't do that. Don't make that mistake. Because you can buy narcotics down there. You can buy prescription medications that are Schedule 1 and Schedule 2, or Schedule 1 aren't prescription. Schedules, there's no medical. But Schedule 2 and I think Schedule 3 are prescription-only things. Don't think you can go down there and buy those Schedule 2 or Schedule 3 drugs and waive your prescription at the border. No, not allowed. You can't do it. So the medications that I take are prescription, but they're not scheduled. You're allowed to bring them over, but there is a rule that you can't bring more than 90 days worth across the border. And I believe there's substantial penalties for violating that rule. So you don't want to do that. Because they will ask you, what did you buy today? Well, I bought my blood pressure medications. And they may say, well, let's see them. And you put them out and you go, you got a year's worth of medications, and they go, this is illegal. We're going to have to cite you, and this is going to be your hefty fine. So don't read all the rules. Get on the internet, do your research through, the border crossing rules, and make sure you understand what you're doing before you buy medications down there. Just fair warning. But people go down there not just for medications and dental and stuff. They go down there because it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of stuff for sale there, a lot of vendors, a lot of really wonderful food, and it's all at a deep, deep discount to what we pay in the States. and there's a huge parking lot you park in. It's, I don't know, $4 or $5, $6, I forgot what. But you park in there, you walk across the border. It's funny, to go into Mexico, they don't really ask any questions. There's not much going on there. Recently, they've formalized it a little bit more, but the last, the times I've been through, they're not asking questions. Going out, it's a little bit more formal. Getting into the United States, you'll get in a long, long line, especially December, January, even February. You're going to be waiting in a long line to go through border and customs. So be prepared for that. Don't let that be a shock to you. And it can be very warm. Make sure you dress right. You have, hat, sunglasses. They'll sell you a hat. There's lots of opportunities to buy hats and all sorts of things down there. Don't miss Lupita's. That's like a taco bar that is very well known. They make deep fried shrimp tacos and all sorts of things. They do it right in front of you as you order it. And just ask anyone where Lupita's is, and they'll tell you. And is it safe? Yeah, it's absolutely safe. It's a very small area, just a few square blocks. There's a National Guard presence. There's a heavy police presence, because 99% of the income for that area is going to be from us, meaning us people that visit there to cross the border and come in and spend dollars. So the last thing they want is any hint of anyone coming across having any kind of a problem. So they go out of their way to make sure it's far safer than any city in the United States that you could casually walk into. It's very well protected. I've not had an uncomfortable moment there, nor have I even heard a rumor or a story. That's saying something. That's saying something in Quartzsite, that you haven't heard a rumor. Rumors are big in Quartzsite. Let me tell you. It's one of the reasons some people go, oh, the crime's terrible in Quartzsite. There's the homeless and crackheads and they steal from you in the desert. You just, no. I have a whole thing, a whole video I'm going to definitely put at the end of this one on the reality about crime in Quartzsite. And it's safe in Quartzsite. It's not something you need to worry about. And of course, that doesn't mean you need to be blind in, not drop your awareness or vigilance or anything. Don't park your car with the engine running, the windows down and open. You probably, the truth is you probably get away with that, but don't do stuff like that. Don't tempt people to steal from you. People worry a little bit about, hey, I'm parked in the desert, I'm going to town, or am I going to come back and everything's going to be gone? Well, do people steal from campsites in Quartzsite? Oh yeah, I'm sure it happens. Most of it probably goes unreported because it's one probably little thing here and there, and I have heard stories about that. But what I have heard is that if you camp in groups, like I do, it's pretty safe. Thieves don't come into camps that look like there are people around. And, when I go into town, I said, who's going to be here? I'm going to be gone for a while. Don't worry about it. Sometimes I'll leave Dottie, and my friends will take care of watching Dottie or taking her for a walk or make sure it doesn't get too warm for her, etc. So it's important to camp in groups if you don't want to lose things like chairs and tables and, God forbid, a generator. I feel safe, but I have a generator that's out all season, and I have a heavy cable lock to that. I don't want anybody to be tempted, you know. Even though I don't think I've ever left camp where no one's been there. But these are all the things I'm telling you about why I love Quartzsite so much. There's always so much to do and places to go and new people to meet, and you can exhaust yourself, you know, with all the things there are. So it's 11:20 and I'm back in Eagle Nest, and it's been a little rainy. It's going to be kind of a rainy, cloudy day. And I know this was a long video on Quartzsite, and there wasn't an outline. It's not, you know, 18 points you need to know or whatever it is. It's just me talking about my love and enthusiasm for the people that come to Quartzsite and the people that live in Quartzsite full time and the people that own and run businesses. And it's, you know, when I say that, I think of the new business that started last year, Moon Mountain Mail, and just the delightful people, starting with the owner and the delightful people she has working there, that when I go to get my packages, it brings us, when I walk in and I'm greeted, it just brings a huge smile to my face. And it's fun going to get my packages. Can I tell you? I love my food shopping in Quartzsite. You know, there's 2 local markets that are, both of them are wonderful in their own ways. The Coyote Fresh Foods and the Roadrunner Market. They're right down the street from each other on the same street. And then there was 2. There was a Dollar General, a Family Dollar, and now a new Dollar Market. So there's lots of options. Well, not to mention the grocery liquidators in Tyson Wells, which is a huge place that has discount dry goods, you know, stuff that's either near expiration or dry goods that have expired in the current year, and you get deep discounts. So they're fascinating places to go to shop for food, and ample opportunity to save a bunch of money. And I'm gonna say with pretty high confidence, I don't think I went and shopped in Walmart and Parker once last year for groceries. I think I did it all on Quartzsite. There's a Smart and Final and a Albertsons in Blythe, California, which is only about from the middle of Quartzsite on heading west on I-10, about 30 minutes. That's it to get there. Smart and Final, I haven't been to much, but I'm going to go to probably quite a few times this year because I hear people just absolutely raving about Smart and Final. So we're going to do a whole separate video on Smart and Final and Blythe because I hear such exciting things about it. I have arrived back in camp, and to close the video, let's take a look at camp. We're going to take off this, and then we're going to turn it around, and we're going to adjust it so you can see there's my camp coming up. Here we are. You can see it's kind of blustery out there. And here we are. Here's home sweet home. and the beautiful view of the lake. Look at that. Even when it's looking a little stormy, doesn't that look beautiful out there? It sure does. All right, let's turn her back around. And this time we'll do the face capture. There we go. And I want to thank you for watching my video. I hope if you're thinking about coming to the Quartzsite, this video got you excited about it. I'm always excited to get there. I just love it there. And if you have any questions, put them in the comment. I'll try to answer them, and I bet my viewers will participate and answer them too, because I got quite a few that are pretty smart about Quartzsite and RV life. Did you hear that? Did you hear the thunder? Dottie's not a fan of the thunder, are you, Dottie? She doesn't like that. Take care. See you next time. Tomorrow.